Bread is probably the most wasted ingredient in Australian homes. The research came out of Sustainability Victoria that we waste, for every loaf we buy, we waste almost half a loaf. So that puts it above lettuce. It puts it above that last bit of the baby spinach that you put in the crisper drawer. It puts it above milk. And it also puts it above bananas. But historically, bananas was number 2 or 3. But obviously with the downturn and the combination of the pandemic, everyone learned to make banana bread. And so now we have a solution. And that really is the inspiration for this. How do we take the bread that we waste and how do we use it, either in the home or on a kind of macro scale? I'm really talking here as well from the position of being involved with Second Bite, which is a food reclamation business. One of our biggest challenges is what to do with all the bread that we pick up that we can't get rid of. So that's going to be the aim. I'm going to start off by talking about one of the things we are doing with that bread, and then I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you for solutions. I want 2 types of solution. I want solution of recipes that you can use for home cooks, that you can take back, that you can share. And I also want one commercial solution. How can we take waste bread and turn it into a usable commercial product? Some of you may know about the use of waste bread for sugar syrups. You can turn waste bread. Some of you may also know about the circular idea about using waste bread to make more bread. So that's some of the stuff that's going on. But one of the things we're involved with in Second Bite is sending a fair amount of our bread down to a local brewer, down to the local brewing company. And Sam Harris is here. I just want Sam to give you a kind of idea of what the model is. Sam, local brewing company is a sort of social responsibility brewer. And we did some stuff with him the other day, but he's using a lot of our bread at the moment, Sam.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. Like Matt said, I'm Sam. I'm one of the founders of Local Brewing Co, a Melbourne-based craft brewery with a sort of a vision of driving social and sustainability impact. So we started about four years ago with a few founders, all with a love of craft beer and also a love of impact business. And so from the very beginning, we knew we wanted to have a tangible impact for every product purchased. And, you know, we'd individually experienced firsthand food wastage and the problem of food wastage and the increasing problem of food wastage. So, you know, with that in our mind, we started searching for a few charities to partner with. Top of that list was Second Bite. And so from the very beginning, we for every pack and every pint that we sold, we donated the equivalent of a meal to Second Bite and to those in need. So that was 4 years ago, and as we've scaled up, so too has our ability to deepen and broaden our impact. And that's where we came next in our journey to actually trying to solve the issue of food wastage, and we came up with this idea of using leftover bread and also leftover fruit within the brewing process in some of our products. And when I say we came up with the idea, that's not probably so true. It's you know, bread has been used for thousands of years in brewing and really dates back to its origin stories. So it definitely wasn't anything new, but isn't used so much more post the industrialisation of the brewing process. So you know, it's something that we wanted to reintroduce, knowing how much bread is actually wasted. So initially, a couple of years ago, we started doing some proof of concept. We worked with some local bakers in our area in Richmond. And we started trialling what would actually work and what would turn into a product that customers would actually enjoy. So we did some experimenting. We tried to scale up and maximise the amount of fruit and bread within the brewing process, just being careful of any introduction of off flavours, also balancing, I guess, the performance of the fermentation process as well, given there are a lot of unfermentable carbohydrates in bread as well. So we trialled that for about a year, and then more recently we've been able to start scaling that up with the partnership of Second Bite, but also in Coles as well, who have helped link us up into some of their farmers and also their bakeries. And there have definitely been challenges in that. Firstly, logistically, it's getting surplus bread and surplus fruit from point A to, the brewery is in itself quite a big challenge. Doing that on a small scale is one thing. I was part of the team jumping down to a local bakery and grabbing some bread, grabbing some fruit as well is quite easy. But how do we really drive and maximise the impact? It was a serious challenge. So we've had to try and find processes and efficiencies to try and make sure that fruit and bread is still fresh and able to be used in the brewing process. So that's definitely been one challenge. Another challenge we're also trying to face is the negative perceptions around the circular economy. I think there are quite a few mistruths out there, around the fact that we might be using mouldy bread or mouldy fruit, and that's just not true. We're taking day fresh bread really and trying to use that in the brewing process. So that's a challenge for us going forward. Is not just trying to maximise the use of it in our products, but also just trying to flip the public perception around using these ingredients and trying to create a circular economy as well. So that's going to be an ongoing challenge for us, and we'll try and continue as well to increase our volumes, increase our impact, and try and build awareness around the products going into the future.
Roughly how much bread are you using a year?
Yeah, great question. So now that we've started to scale this product up, we're brewing this on a sort of quarterly basis, and each quarter we'll try and hero different fruit to really talk about the seasonality of fruit and what's surplus at any one point in time. So typically a brew might use about 7 tonnes of a particular fruit, and then about 10 to 15% of our grain bill as well. So that'll be anywhere from about 600 to 800 kilograms of bread.
In terms of the fruit is also rescue product as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah. So we'll work closely with farmers to understand what's in season and what's surplus, and we're always pretty cognizant as well of not wanting to divert that from charities like Second Bite or equivalents. We want to take something that's destined for landfill and divert that and start to reuse that.
Because that's one of the challenges with food rescue is what you tend to get a trainload of mangoes, and even though we've got over 1,000 different partners we work with, that's too many mangoes. Even if we send a third of that trainload off to Fair Share to turn into mango tiramisu or something that they then freeze and then send out, there's still going to be more stuff. So part of our challenge is minimising the waste of what we pick up. We pick up about 23 million kilos of food a year from different places, and we recirculate that. So again, our job is to be as assiduous as we can about minimising our waste footprint as we are in working with farmers, producers, retailers for theirs. How many meals so far?
Yeah, so we've just surpassed 200,000 meals that we've managed to donate to Second Bite, which I think we're super proud of, and is really just a testament to Second Bite and all the work they do and how high impact they are as a charity.
Brilliant, thank you, Sam. I think this is the idea. I think when we start talking about food waste, and specifically something as big a category as bread, it just seems bamboozlingly complex. One, because that bread is not created equal, as we know, but also in terms of it's such a monster problem. We reckon there's probably 2,000 kilos of bread a month that's going into landfill just from within our organisation. So trying to find a big way of dealing with that is massive. But then I always think, who first thought of toast? Before there was toast, there was bread and there was stale bread. So, or if you look at, you know, one of the great junk foods of the world, nachos. Nachos starts out as stale tortillas in a little restaurant in Pedro Negras, south of the Mexican border, where they had nothing to eat. They chopped them up, they fried them, they put some cheese and a jalapeno on the top. And now suddenly, the tortilla industry is built around the corn chips for the nachos rather than being a way of using a stale product. One of the challenges is scale that we're talking about there, and that idea of 800 kilos of bread. In terms of, we work on two basis models. One is mass, so it's picking up from, you know, big organisations. It's the trainloads of mangoes coming down or moving around the country. And the other one is a community connect model, where we connect people who've got waste products with local charities, local organisations. They can pick up directly, so we're not wasting resources and time moving product from Wangaratta down to Heidelberg and then back up to Wangaratta again. So that allows us to work with some of the more specific stuff. But what I wanted to do was, you know, we've had bread for 7,000 years, and really as long as we've had bread, we've had waste. We've had leftover bread, which is why there's an amazing wealth of ideas out there from a whole range of different cultures and heritages that can be a solution. So what I wanted to do was just really free-form a conversation about ways that you use bread. We can do that one of two ways. Either we can make it open, put the hands up, we'll have a conversation, everyone can chip in, it'd be a bit like a talkback radio show, or alternatively we can split into groups. What do you want to do? You want to split into groups? Or do you want to put your hand up? How's everyone feeling? Hands up for group. Great, I love that. That's no organisation. So I'd love to get your ideas or your feedback in terms of, and especially, you know, the young cooks here who are with us today, about ways of using stale bread. Again, on a small scale, the soup you had today, right? The soup you had today is a way of using. That is just bread, butter. If it's a non-vegetarian version, bone marrow, and then you cook it. But doing it at home for 8 people is easy. Doing it for 140, you just can't cook it long enough, which my personal view is it tastes a little bit gelatinous. It tastes a little bit like soggy bread. So that's a process of not cooking. You need to cook it for another hour to really break down the grains, and then to the point where you don't need to blend it, because the moment you blend it, you start bursting stuff and it starts getting a bit slimy. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at, how you take stuff from a small scale. And so let's start with small scales. In terms of who uses bread, I mean, everyone uses breadcrumbs, yes? Shout out some ideas for breadcrumbs. Meatballs, beautiful. Anything else? Schnitzel, pangrattata, brilliant. Now one of the suggestions is, do you think there's a market for people who don't cook buying pangrattata when they go to the local gourmet store? Flavoured, maybe, maybe not. It's maybe a bit too specialist. Other ideas for breadcrumbs? Bread stuffing for poultry. Anyone make bread sauce? Yeah, that old-fashioned medieval sauce. Potato. So what? Using the breadcrumbs on the top as a crumble, or you could use them slightly bigger on brown Betty. Anyone heard of pera? Pera. So in the Middle Ages, in Italy, bread was, you know, staff of life. And one of the things they do in Tuscany is they grate the bread and they cook it with a stock to make like a bread polenta. So this idea that can we take stale bread, grind it and sell it next to polenta as a way of using that bread, and then obviously, you know, Sam's model is the exact model. We want to make sure that some of the money raised from that comes back into Second Bite in order to fund picking stuff up. We have an increased need through food security to deliver stuff to people who need it, and our model is you don't charge the charity for those ingredients. You need the charity to take the food for free and then use the savings they're making there for delivering other services. Other ideas for bread? How are we going? Dumplings. What sort of dumplings? Like German Knödel? That sort of idea? Yeah. So So in a casserole, on the top, just by themselves, brilliant. Do you think, would you buy a bread dumpling? Would you buy a German noodle in the freezer section?
If I didn't make them, probably.
Yeah, but they're not hard to make, are they? But then do you walk around the supermarket and see all those ingredients, all those things that aren't hard to make?
I don't buy them.
Yeah. So, but anyone here make noodle? Anyone here make potato bread dumplings? Would you, if we were selling some potato dumplings right now from this woman here, would you buy them? Yeah, of course. So I think that's a really good idea, and I think there's when Sam's talking about getting over a challenge, one of the challenges is that people perceive bread dumplings to be heavy, but they're not, are they? They're incredibly light, and it's that way when you see them in meatballs, they bring a lightness to the meatball that's valuable. Other ideas? What about some dessert ideas? Who said bread and butter pudding? So brilliant, excellent, love that. Anything else? Anything else you've seen that you like? Summer pudding, beautiful, very nice indeed. What else? Anyone know about treacle tart? Treacle tart. Do people who? It's a course tomato soup. We put bread inside. So like a papa pomodoro or a ribollita, yes. So actually using the chunks of bread to add texture. I mean, soup is fascinating. You've got a quarter in Portugal, which is basically a bread soup, and the Castilians also make a bread soup as well. Do you think there's a market for it? With that sort of product though? Is that something you do at home? And it's a great way of home using bread soup, dropping in your ribollita because it goes all silky and delicious. Do you think there's a way you could make that into a product for the home cook though, for the commercial market? Probably not. Okay, all right. Damn. Okay, we're edging toward treacle tart though. I think is interesting. And bread and butter pudding again. You know, frozen bread and butter pudding. That's a great model. Uses lots of bread. Treacle tart's just breadcrumbs, golden syrup, lemon juice in a pastry. Now I was talking to Joe Barrett, who's working with me with a project with the CSIRO on trying to find ways of the fancy word is valorization of waste bread. And she's been working on a pastry which uses breadcrumbs, bread, and then is a freezable pastry. So you could do almost a 90% bread waste product, valorized product of a treacle tart. So again, treacle tart, does that appeal? Do we like the sound of that? Okay, good. Other bread at the back, yes.
Can I make a galette?
Yes.
Breadcrumbs under the fruit to absorb some of the juice.
So like people sometimes use almond meal, that idea. So it doesn't leach out the side. Brilliant. I love it. That's a great idea. And any other?
Kvass, I think it's pronounced. It's a fermented drink using bread. So it's like kombucha, but you use bread to ferment.
Do you know about this method?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Is it? Have you made it? You know?
Sharon's demonstrating.
Sharon is demonstrating it tomorrow. Sharon, good old Sharon from the fermentary. If you're here tomorrow, go and see that. Can someone please video that and send it to me? I mean, is that? Do you think that's a space? Do you think that's maybe the space where waste bread should go into sort of products that are challenging the preconceptions? So rather than it being bread and butter pudding, that we're fermenting it, we're doing the sort of stuff that Mandy Hall's doing in South Australia and that Sharon Flynn's doing here.
We just made bread miso.
Oh, look! Was it easy?
Sorry?
Was it easy?
Yeah, you just get koji and put it on bread. So it's just the white mould that would be on rice. Instead of using rice as your base, you use bread.
And did you do no problems in that? And what was the flavour like?
Yeah, it was amazing, but it was more, rice is very clear, and this is more nutty and more grainy, I guess. You're getting more of the grain.
Were you using multiple breads or were you using one?
No, we just one. It was a light rye, so wheat, whole grain wheat, white flour and rye, about 20% rye.
And is that something you think that you could, that would ship, that you would be able to sell through, back in the days you had your store?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because you don't need a little bit, and it's amazing, like any miso's got this amazing umami, so you can just add it to anything. Vegan, vegetarian, lamb chop, doesn't matter. It makes it
Brilliant.
taste better. Yeah.
Yum. Okay. I think Matthew's going to be under license now. I'll be ringing you. No. Your face has to go on the front of the pack, undoubtedly. What about snacks? Has anyone seen any of the waste snacks that have come out in the last year? The broccoli. You would have seen the wasabi little chip thing, undoubtedly. But have you seen any of the broccoli snacks or the pumpkin snacks that are basically they're the waste from the field, so not the actual broccoli, ground up, turned into a flour, and then turned into a snack? Do you think is there a space for a waste bread snack?
Ice cream.
Yeah, well, ice cream is. So my grandmother used to make brown bread ice cream, which was bread toasted with sugar in the oven and then ground up and stirred into ice cream, which is delicious. What did you like about the brown bread ice cream?
It's different. It's not what you would expect with
Yeah.
ice cream, I guess.
Yeah. It's something that I've been starting to play with, is this idea of. Do anyone remember there was an old cereal called Grape Nuts? I know about the cereal called Grape Nuts, and it was called Grape Nuts because it was like gravel. It was like brown gravel, and basically it was just ground up bread with a bit of sugar and a bit of salt, and then baked. So on the way out, there's some milk and there's some little versions of this sitting. Oh, they're over there. So come and help yourself. Have a try. Thank you, Lynette. Again, work in progress. I think there's a market there, but again, there's the issue about the quality of the bread. Like that's made with Ket rye, ground up, and it can be 2 weeks old. This rye, so it works brilliantly well. It'd be harder, I think, for a softer product. Any other ideas or things that you're inspired by in terms of bread?
You could go into competition with that packet that does the flavoured breadcrumbs that is of dubious quality, but with different flavour profiles. So you can do a gratin topping, or you could do a sweet bread, toasted bread, crumb that you put on the outside of a cake.
Oh, do we like that? I like that.
I'm thinking flavoured breadcrumb lines.
Yeah. That's a question, isn't it? Are you more, given the fact of the bread dumpling model that we're talking about, that that a lot of these ideas, like treacle tart, they're quite simple, but actually when you watch people, even in the light of everything that we've seen and the great food revolution we've had over the last 20 years here, people are still buying things in jars and sauces. So do you think that, is there a market? Can you imagine being at your local store and seeing that in someone's basket? Okay. No, oh God, this is so not the market. I'm using you as the exact opposite of that. I'm using you as the thought leaders and the people that are saying, because that's the transition, isn't it? You think back 15 years ago, and then Parmesan came one way. It came in a cardboard tube.
Cardboard tubes of flavoured breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
People who want instant pizzazz.
Shh. I like that. Yeah, instant pizzazz.
Like that. It's a paper potato idea, or anything
Yeah.
of breadcrumb idea.
Yeah, but it's an instant, and again, then you're basically saying you can use these breadcrumbs in a number of manner of ways. You can use it as a flavour sprinkle. You can use it for texture. You could use them. You could put 10% in with your panko for your nuggets. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with that. Sorry, what was that?
I was just laughing at the idea of crummy chicken. What did you just call them?
Yeah, nuggets, just nuggets. Let's just call it by real name: chicken thighs, so not processed and kind of ground up chicken. You guys in the whites, is there anything that you've seen or that you've read about or that you've kind of noticed in terms of smart ways of using breadcrumbs? I'll give you a minute to think, because that's terrible, putting on the spot. But we've been rescued by here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not really foodie, and therefore my brain goes in a different direction.
Yeah, no.
And I don't know whether we're just...
No, different directions are great. There is no bad idea here, unless it's mine.
So bioferments that are soil improvers rely upon carbon, and therefore bread would be a great source for that.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea.
I met a baker who told me to put all my bread back through the oven and make biochar. And then I put it in my veggie garden and the worms loved it.
So biochar. So it goes through the garden centres, it doesn't go through the food retail.
And then also I could use it as fuel as well in the oven too. So.
Genius. I love it. Thank you very much indeed. Anything else? Yes.
Unless these guys have got something. I just want to see if we can flip the conversation to how do we reduce that waste from the bakery.
Oh, look, I mean, we can. And actually, in my original words, it was, that the ideal world for us at Second Bite is we cease to be relevant because we only use what's coming out of the field, then we only grow what's going to be used, and we don't have a situation where the best way to reduce waste is to buy less and to make less and to grow less. I mean, that's the simple. Whether there is a space for, whether the market will ever accept that, and we were talking about this over lunch, but this idea of if you're a baker, how much pressure is there on you to have a full shelf at 4 p.m? How many bakers are there here? So what I'd love to know is, do you bake to a point where at the end of the day, empty shelves, people come in and you go, look, I've got some, it's all sold up sign goes out, but I've got some frozen out the back that I can do. Is that something, or do you find yourself having a waste? Meat, you freeze your rye, don't you?
No,
you don't. Do you freeze anything?
we do freeze our bread that we have too much, and then we sell it reduced.
Yeah.
But a lot go to charity and stuff as well. It's very hard to predict numbers if you sell a fresh product.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants, and that's the problem. There's an automatic turn-off. You see it. I mean, it's the bachelor handbag chicken at 10 at night when you go to the supermarket, isn't it? That it's selling for $3 or $4. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
I wanted to see if there was any bakers out there with a business model that did exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What?
So I've got a 0% wastage policy.
Brilliant. And how do you do that?
I have direct orders, I have standard orders that come from customers week on week, and I sit down. It probably takes me 2 hours on a Sunday to work out my production schedule for the entire week, so that I have zero wastage.
How much of that working out the production schedule is based on what you know about the customer? How many customers you're going to have buying, sourdough on a Thursday and rye on a Friday?
I've gone left of field a bit, and I've had to educate my shops and my direct customers to get their shit together, basically.
Yeah.
And this is what it is. It takes me 3 days to make a loaf of bread. You can't decide the day before that you want another 20 loaves. You get your shit together as a shop owner to get your direct customers to pre-order as well.
Sure.
And then you estimate, do you want 10, 20, 30, 50, 80 loaves extra? That's up to you. But to me, I fluctuate as well. I also work very closely with my local greengrocer. So that if I shut at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I happen to have something left, which is very rare, I then take it down to her. She's open for another 3 hours.
Sure.
So it's the amount of effort and time and energy that goes into organising and pre-planning that is enormous. But the flow and effect, 9 years later, I've never thrown out a loaf of bread.
That's amazing. Brilliant. In terms of this idea, do you think the customer though, can you train customers? And you can. I mean, the question is, when you have, I think what we've seen, since John Downes at Natural Tucker, is a different attitude towards bread. We've moved away from it being a commodity and a choice commodity, that now it's a destination. You go to a good baker and there'll be a queue. And you'll wait in the queue. It's a privilege to wait in a queue in order to buy bread. I mean, it's a...
Or if you find out that they take pre-orders, you don't have to wait.
And then you go around to the person on the side and you pick it up and it's done. Yes, I'm a big fan of that with Ket myself because I don't like the 45-minute wait, even though the coffee's very good there. It's a great idea. In terms of moving forward, do you think, this is a question for the bakery, is it if people turn up and it says sold out, do they get angry with you? Or do they go, brilliant, congratulations, you're doing really well. If you're sold out, you're going to be here next week and next year. Yeah. 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 So and you'll see them. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely, which is great. And I mean, but is that not? I mean, I think this is a fascinating attitude about where we are as consumers. Sorry, yeah, Mick?
Sorry, I've just done big market research with a friend of mine, and not everybody says that, unfortunately.
But Mick, in terms of the...
There is a big need for education, absolutely.
Yeah.
In all terms, everywhere when it comes to food and wastage and education about the importance and soil and all of that. Huge amount of education needed to the public. I think so. A lot of people. I had a feedback of our customers said, I never come because I need to wait in line. We also have pre-order system, but they're too lazy to find that out themselves. And then, or they say, they sell out. It's inappropriate, but it's also the industry, because if you look at the rules of a baker's delight, for example, you have to have 20%. You have to have 20%.
These are franchise rules. Yeah.
Right, and they don't even want to give that to charity because that's not good, so they just throw it in the bin.
Yeah.
Be aware, and we, as bakers, we need to educate them.
And look, I think in terms of what you're talking about stuff being thrown out, one of the things we're moving towards and pushing towards is towards a tax credit for stuff that you donate to a business like OzHarvest or Fair Share or Second Bite, so you can actually, you're incentivized. We're amazing in this country. In France, they actually had to legislate that supermarkets couldn't throw stuff away. Here, they've taken quite a proactive attitude for all the the problems that supermarkets do. In this area, they've been actually quite proactive. In terms of educating your consumers, is it just a matter of exactly what you're saying and saying this is brilliant? This is like if you ring up that really good restaurant in your local town and say, "Can I have a table?" They go 3 months' time. I mean, should we be perceiving bread as being it's a luxury? I mean, people are willing to travel. How long are people willing to travel to go? And is that financially sustainable to do you think? Any of the bakers got a view on that? No, because you've got to do volume.
I think bread should be accepted. I don't think it's a luxury product at all.
I don't mean it as a luxury. I mean it as something you appreciate. That when it's sold out, I need to get there earlier rather than why haven't you got bread for me?
The problem is that we need more bakers.
Yeah.
So we don't have that problem yet.
And we need more small bakers working in a community where they can develop a relationship with their customer base and where it becomes consistent when they're coming in. Or you make them pre-order, which is what you want to do. In terms of, and anything else you want to bring up in terms of this area of minimising waste in the bread sphere? Anyone here want to discuss?
Well, I mean, what I want to take it up another level is the procurement. So we need to educate consumers for sure, but we need to educate hospitals, aged care centres, childcare centres. So if there was that level of understanding that this food is really healthy, then there'd be more opportunities for businesses who are doing this on the knife edge of viability to move into, the multipliers in terms of the savings on the health budget would be enormous.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be more sort of thinking that takes this, instead of the shit that's served in hospitals and all the other powdered stuff that's just absolutely useless. I think we can I think we can do a lot more in that space.
Do you think that's a matter of price? Is it this that the budgets are so tight they're just going to buy shit because they're just going to have bread in inverted commas?
Because they haven't been educated on
Yeah.
the cost of the budget, like the health
Yeah.
budget like this. You know, and only, I think it's out of the, I'm just trying to remember now, 400 million of the total health budget is spent on prevention, of a total health budget of 6 billion.
Yeah.
You know, it's only it's less than 1%. So if they understood that saving by having, you know, whether it's, I think it's something like 83% of all surgeries are preventative.
Yeah.
Like they're all planned surgeries, they're not misplanned. So there's a lot of work that could be done in that space that would give all these businesses a better chance to, and that would bring the cost down because then you have the scale. Yeah, so there's this sort of...
I think we also probably need a revolution for that whole thing. And we can, I mean, you know, we've seen it with abattoirs, and we've seen it, we have seen a certain lurch towards big business at the expense of small business and of artisan businesses, which is, but then on the other side, and I think, you know, we're talking in this environment, you know, people like Matthew have really championed this idea that you know where it comes from. Go and develop a relationship with your grower at the farm. Go to the farmer's market. You know, learn and meet your baker. Understand. Get excited when they get excited about what they've done to change their croissant and how much happier they are. Because that's part of being part of a community. And maybe it's more of that Dan Barber fourth plate model, where we're looking at trying to, rather than just making everything bigger, better, shinier, where maybe we should be making it smaller. And that's a significant change that we can all make right now in terms of, you know, that decision of whether you go to the large chain or the small individual, whether you go to the chain restaurant or you go to the couple, you know, one in the kitchen, one on the floor, of which are lots of restaurants here do brilliantly. I think, yeah, come the revolution, small artisan bakers in every town. There's a fantastic podcast on exactly that, on the single biggest change that you could make to Britain would be removing shit white bread and putting individual sourdough bakers in every single village, in every single town, because for a number of reasons. You walk there, that's a positive, for the sense of community you get, for the quality of what you get, for the care you get, and for the fact that you don't see the same shortcuts that are made, obviously, in the commercial world. We're coming to the end of our time. Anyone that want to bring anything else up, have a rant? Say, what we need to do is this, give me some inspiration for my column on Sunday, or for the radio show on Saturday. Yes, please.
Just quickly, conversation for another time, but some of the potential waste happens before you buy the flour.
And you, look, you're absolutely right, and taking waste out of the whole supply chain is crucial. Breads, there is some research, I think it was done in Flanders, on waste in bread, and obviously there's stuff that happens in the field and that way. But actually, most of the bread waste is at the retail point. I think it's about 4% in the production process, 1% prior, and then distribution is the next one. But retail is the biggest area. But you're absolutely right. For everything, that waste of what's left in the field, what we do with it, you know, we know the issue about ugly fruit. It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Can you please, in the column, can you just let people know that they can freeze bread?
Yes.
We all know that.
I know.
Going to the Northern Territory, they all know that.
Yes.
You're going to rural areas, they all know that. There are people that I speak to at the bakery. They're like,
No idea. Well, but this is the question. When I always say, where do you store your sliced bread? You store it in the freezer. You don't store it out, because it toasts really well. If it's a good sourdough, frozen, it's way better. Yeah, I'll continue to push that barrow. I think that's. But it's also that idea we're talking about, you know, you're sold out, but for those people who aren't assiduous as you are and aren't as hard working as you are, but that you have maybe you've got a loaf of rye in the freezer, you can sell them, which is great. So you at least get over that, how dare you not be able to serve me? You're a shop. What do you do? You know, that kind of old-fashioned Karen mentality.
And I also believe, I think someone said that they freeze it and they sell it at a reduced rate. No, you've gone and put that in used power to then...
Yeah. Oh,
to gain more longevity.
but also you're solving a problem because there is no other bread. You're actually saying you could drive somewhere else, park the car, get out, take your bicycle there, whatever you're doing, and then, or you can have it right here, and I'm not going to charge you any extra. So yeah, there's a.
I have it on my
yes.
label. I've put that on my label.
Within 3
days, then slice them free.
Fantastic.
Don't waste as much effort.
Yeah.
And people have come back to me at the markets and said, I did what you said, and the bread's so good in the freezer. They're amazed.
But
It took it being printed on a label.
but also is that not one of those things where you realise that in this room, I would say that most people understand freezing, but in terms of out there, gee, there's just like there are all these light bulb moments that through your TikTok feed you'll be able to confirm to people that's the way to do it, and that I think that's another potential way in terms of converting people. Just point out really that the stuff that we think is obvious often is inspirational for other people. Thank you. Anything else? I'd like to thank you because I'm loving Matthew's miso. I'm loving the flavoured sprinkles. I'm thinking the bread pastry with the treacle tart. There's 3 products in the line. So when you see that with a Second Bite name on it, know that you were here. Buy one and know that you'll be also not just minimising the waste, but also you'll be kicking cash back into Second Bite to pick up more stuff to give to more people to end waste, fight hunger. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, wait a second. If you haven't seen this book, this is Bread is Gold. This is, did anyone know Massimo Bottura was #1 chef in the world and the top 50 biz. He set up a refettorio in Milan where he brings in top chefs to cook with reclaimed ingredients, and his experience was that bread was the solution, that they always have it, it's always there, and it can be used in so many brilliant ways. So I love this theory, I love this motto that bread is gold. Thank you very much indeed.